If this is your first time on our channel, please subscribe, like, and if you love this story, share it with at least 10 friends so I can keep creating stories from the heart. Thank you, and now, let's begin. Story title, Love, Lies, and Betrayal. In the heart of Savannah, Georgia, lived Emily Carter, a passionate painter with dreams of opening her own art gallery. She had recently ended a toxic relationship and vowed never to trust love so easily again. That was until Daniel Reynolds, a charming journalist from New York City, walked into her life at one of her weekend exhibits. Daniel wasn't just any visitor, he seemed genuinely interested in her work, asking thoughtful questions and staying long after others had left. He said he was working on a piece about Southern art revival, but he kept finding excuses to visit Emily again. Dinners turned to late-night calls. Smiles turned to touches. Within weeks, Emily was falling again, despite her fear. But Daniel had secrets. One evening, Emily accidentally came across a file on Daniel's laptop when he left it open during a dinner at her place. The file was titled, Carter Scandal Final Draft. Her heart stopped. Inside was a full exposé on her late father's old real estate empire, something she had kept buried. Her father had been accused of fraud a decade ago, and Emily had spent her whole life rebuilding the Carter name. Daniel had known all along. He wasn't just a journalist. He was hunting a story. Emily confronted him. "You used me," she whispered, holding back tears. "Emily, I didn't mean to, I didn't know I'd fall for you." "But you lied." "I didn't lie about what I feel." "That part's real." "It doesn't matter now." Daniel left Savannah the next morning, and Emily felt her world crack in silence. But a week later, she received a package. It was Daniel's article. But the headline read, "A New Beginning, the Artist Who Rewrote Her Legacy." It wasn't an exposé, it was a tribute. He had rewritten the piece. The world saw her not through her father's shadows, but through her own light. Still, he didn't call. He didn't come back. Weeks turned into months. Then, on the day of her gallery opening, a bouquet of white lilies, her mother's favorite, arrived with a note. "Every brushstroke of your story matters. I still believe in us, if you do. Daniel." The gallery buzzed with excitement. Emily stood among her paintings, smiling for guests and posing for pictures. Yet inside, her heart raced. The note from Daniel was folded neatly in her pocket, read over 100 times since morning. Every knock at the door made her glance up. Every passing stranger made her hope. And then, he walked in. Daniel stood in the doorway, clean-shaven, wearing a dark navy suit, holding nothing but honesty in his eyes. The room around her blurred as their eyes locked. He walked slowly toward her, like a man not sure if he still had the right. "I didn't come to make it harder for you," he said gently. "Then why did you come?" "Because I couldn't stay away. I let the truth hurt you once. I won't do it again." Emily looked at him, torn between memory and longing. "You broke my trust, Daniel." "I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life earning it back, if you let me." The music played softly in the background. Her guests faded into whispers. Emily's heart, unsure but still beating with hope, took a leap. "One step at a time," she said, tears brimming. "One step," he nodded. He didn't touch her. He didn't kiss her. He just stood beside her, where trust could start again. But outside the gallery, in a sleek black car, a woman watched. Her name was Sabrina Walker, Daniel's ex-fiancée from New York. And she wasn't here to admire art. She was here for revenge. 3 years ago in New York City. Sabrina Walker was Daniel's everything, at least, that's what she believed. A high-powered attorney with an obsession for control and perfection, Sabrina had carefully crafted the perfect life for the two of them. They had the apartment, the careers, and the future. Until one day, she found Daniel's journal. In it, he wrote not about her, but about emptiness. About how love should feel like fire, not routine. About how he didn't even know if he was in love anymore. When Sabrina confronted him, Daniel didn't deny it. He packed up and left. No drama. No fight. Just the truth. But Sabrina wasn't the kind of woman who forgave. Now back in Savannah. As Daniel stood next to Emily at the gallery, smiling and making small talk with guests, Sabrina stepped out of her car. She wore a sharp black trench coat and red lipstick, like a shadow dressed in elegance. Her heels clicked against the pavement like a warning. She had a plan. Through an old contact at the New York Gazette, Sabrina had discovered the unpublished version of Daniel's article. The one that exposed Emily's father. If she leaked it now, Emily's rising reputation would collapse overnight. Daniel would lose the only woman he ever truly loved. And Sabrina would finally get her revenge. That night, Sabrina sent a message to an anonymous blog. Exclusive, Emily Carter's dark family secret. The truth her boyfriend tried to bury. And attached the draft. Then she smiled, closed her laptop, and poured a glass of wine. Let's see how real their love really is, she whispered. The next morning, Emily woke up to over 37 missed calls and a dozen articles flooding her inbox. Her father's scandal. Her name dragged again. The words cover-up and fraud flashing across social media. And in the middle of it all, Daniel's name. She looked at him, sleeping peacefully beside her. Was this his doing? Again? Or had the past come back with a vengeance? Emily sat on the edge of her bed, her phone trembling in her hands. Article after article screamed the same words. Emily Carter, a legacy of lies. Exclusive, the truth behind her father's empire, exposed by her own lover? Daniel Reynolds, journalist or manipulator? Daniel stirred beside her. What's wrong? She stood up, voice shaking. You tell me, Daniel. Did you send this? What? No, what are you talking about? Then explain this, she said, holding the phone out. Daniel's face dropped. He scrolled through the article, the exact version he had deleted. The draft he promised would never see light. His voice turned cold. This isn't me. Someone hacked this, someone had to. Emily's eyes filled with doubt. She wanted to believe him. She needed to. But betrayal had already burned her once. Meanwhile, at a cafe across town, Sabrina sipped her cappuccino, watching the chaos unfold online. Her lips curled in satisfaction. But what she hadn't expected was Daniel calling her. You really thought I wouldn't figure it out? Sabrina didn't flinch. Oh, Daniel. I didn't need to do anything. The truth was always ugly. I just helped it shine. You've always wanted to ruin what you couldn't control. No, darling. I wanted to remind you, people don't just walk away from me. Then remember this, Daniel said. You just declared war. And I'm done playing nice. Back at the gallery, Emily's board of directors held an emergency meeting. Her upcoming deals were suspended. Sponsors pulled out. Her dream was slipping. Yet, something inside her reignited, not fear, but fight. She looked at the camera crew outside her door and told Daniel. You want to help me? Don't protect me. Stand beside me. Let's face this together. Publicly. Daniel nodded. And as they stepped outside hand in hand, facing the flashing lights, Emily spoke. Yes, my father had a past. But I am not him. I am Emily Carter. And I refuse to let anyone else write my story. But deep in the shadows, Sabrina made one final call. To someone who knew even darker truths about Emily's family. A man Emily had no idea even existed. The press conference clip went viral overnight. Emily's words, bold, vulnerable, unshaken, resonated with millions. Hashtags like #StandWithEmily and #RewriteYourLegacy flooded social media. The gallery's Instagram following doubled. Journalists praised her courage. Brands reconsidered their silence. But while the world applauded her strength, a private jet landed quietly in Savannah. And from it stepped a man wearing a gray suit, a leather cane in his right hand, and a past filled with shadows. His name? Vincent Carter. Emily's uncle. Her father's estranged younger brother. A man no one had seen in over 20 years. He had left the country after the real estate scandal, cutting ties with everyone. But Sabrina had found him, whispered just enough venom to convince him. Your niece is rebuilding the Carter name, without your piece of it. At the gallery, Daniel and Emily sat side by side, still stunned by the shift in public opinion. She looked more confident than ever, but he knew the storm wasn't over. You think it's done? She asked. I think Sabrina's not finished, Daniel replied. Then we won't be either. Just then, a courier arrived. A letter. No return address. Emily opened it slowly. The words inside sent a chill through her spine. You don't own the Carter name. You just borrowed it. I'm coming home to take what's mine. BC. Daniel read it and froze. Vincent Carter? You never told me he was still alive. I thought he wasn't. I haven't seen him since I was 10. Well, you're about to. That night, across town, Sabrina poured herself another glass of wine and smiled at the news headline. Mysterious Vincent Carter returns to Savannah, more secrets in the Carter family? She whispered to herself. You thought betrayal came from love, Emily. Wait until it comes from family. 2 days later. The skies over Savannah were gray, almost prophetic. Emily stood at her father's old estate, abandoned, dust-filled, but still holding memories she wasn't sure she wanted to face. She hadn't returned here in over a decade. Now, Vincent Carter had demanded a meeting, here. Daniel insisted on coming with her. If this man's dangerous, you shouldn't go alone, he said. He's family, Emily replied, but I'm starting to think that doesn't mean anything anymore. The gates creaked open. And there he was. Vincent looked older than she remembered, but his sharp gaze and smug smile hadn't changed. You've grown into your mother's fire, he said. You left us, Emily said. No, sweetheart. I survived. Your father took everything from me. And now, it's time I take it back. He pulled out a document, a handwritten will, dated 2 weeks before her father's arrest. This proves your father left me full control of the estate. That gallery? The funds came from this. Legally, it's mine. Emily's hand shook. You're lying. Am I? Or did Daddy dearest have more secrets than you imagined? Later that night, Emily dug through her late father's storage boxes. She found something she had never seen before, an old cassette tape marked, "For Emily, in case the truth finds you." Daniel helped her find an old player. They sat in silence as her father's voice echoed through the room. If you're hearing this, Em, then my past has caught up to you. And I'm sorry. Vincent didn't just run from the scandal, he started it. I took the blame to protect you. He threatened your life, your mother's. I did terrible things. But the worst was trusting my brother. If he comes back, don't believe a word. Protect what's yours. Emily covered her mouth, her eyes wide. He lied to the world, she whispered. And now he's lying again, Daniel said. But Vincent wasn't working alone anymore. A knock on the door came that night. Emily opened it. And standing there, beside Vincent, was Sabrina. Miss me? Sabrina smirked. We decided your story needed a stronger ending, Vincent added. And it begins with taking everything from you. Emily's grip on the doorframe tightened. Vincent. Sabrina. Together. This was no longer a battle over a gallery. It was war over legacy, love, and truth. Daniel stood behind Emily, stepping forward. You two make quite the team. One obsessed with control. The other with revenge. Spare us the cheap psychology, Sabrina said coolly. We're here for business. Vincent added, and Emily knows. Carter business has never been clean. Sabrina handed her an envelope. Inside, a court summons. Vincent was filing for full ownership of the Carter estate, including the funding and rights behind her gallery. If he won, Emily would lose everything she built. The next day, Emily sat in her attorney's office, trying to stay calm. But inside, she was unraveling. That can't be real, she muttered. Even if it is, her attorney said, we just need evidence that your father was coerced. That's where the tape helps, but it's not enough. Daniel stepped in. There's one person who might know more. Emily, what about your mother? Emily froze. Her mother, Rebecca Carter, had disappeared from the public eye shortly after her father's scandal. She had moved to a private care facility upstate after a mental breakdown. Emily hadn't seen her in 5 years. Later that week, Emily drove alone through winding roads to a quiet home tucked into the hills. Rebecca looked fragile but alert, her eyes lit up at the sight of her daughter. Emily. You look like him, she whispered. Mom, I need to know what really happened with Dad and Vincent. Rebecca hesitated. Then, slowly, she nodded. It wasn't about money. It was about love. Vincent was in love with me. Long before I married your father. He never forgave us. And he swore he'd destroy everything we built together. Emily's heart dropped. So all this, Sabrina, the lawsuit, it's revenge? It's jealousy. A twisted kind. He never wanted the company. He wanted me. When I chose your father, he burned us all. Back in Savannah, Vincent watched an old photograph of Rebecca on his desk. He whispered. If she had chosen me, none of this would have happened. Sabrina entered the room. Are you sure she's not our weakness? No, Vincent said coldly. She's our final weapon. The rain poured over Savannah like a warning from the heavens. Emily sat alone in her studio, staring at a half-finished canvas. Her mind was spinning, not with colors or brushstrokes, but with memories, revelations, and fear. Her mother's confession echoed in her ears. Vincent never wanted the business. He wanted me. Emily now understood, this wasn't just betrayal. This was obsession, buried in decades of lies. Meanwhile, at a private hotel suite across town, Sabrina watched Vincent pace. You're slipping, she said sharply. Rebecca's name shouldn't even be mentioned in court. Vincent turned, eyes full of rage. I make the decisions. You forget, I made you relevant again. Sabrina laughed bitterly. No, Vincent. I made you dangerous again. Without me, you're just a bitter old man chasing ghosts. The tension between them cracked. For the first time, Sabrina saw something in his eyes she hadn't before, not control, but instability. That night, while Vincent slept, Sabrina broke into his briefcase. Hidden under stacks of legal papers was a letter, old, yellowed, sealed. It was addressed to Rebecca, from Emily's father. She carefully unfolded it. If anything happens to me, protect Emily. Vincent is not well. He's been forging documents, rewriting history, he even tried to claim Rebecca as legally unstable. I've hidden the original will in the place we first met. Only Rebecca will know where that is. Sabrina's breath caught. So the will. It was forged after all, she whispered. And if Emily finds the real one, we're finished. She looked at Vincent, snoring, unaware. Her loyalty wavered. The next morning, Sabrina made a call. Not to Vincent. Not to the court. But to Emily. Meet me. No tricks. No cameras. Just you. Why should I trust you? Emily snapped. Because I'm the only one who knows where your father's real will is. An hour later, they met in an abandoned garden behind Savannah's oldest chapel, the place Rebecca and Emily's father first met as teenagers. Why are you doing this? Emily asked. Because I finally realized, Sabrina replied, "You're not my enemy." "He is." She handed Emily the letter. "Find the will. And end this, for both of us." The morning fog rolled over the chapel grounds as Emily stepped carefully through the overgrown garden behind it, the very place her parents first fell in love. The letter trembled in her hand like a heartbeat. She stopped at a crumbling stone bench. Her mother once told her, "This is where your father proposed, beneath the magnolia tree." Emily looked up. There, beside the twisting roots, was an old iron box, half buried in soil and time. Her hand shook as she pried it open. Inside was a sealed envelope, brittle and faded. On the front, in her father's handwriting, "To the courts of Chatham County, final and only true will." Tears welled in her eyes. This was it. The truth. Back in town, Vincent stormed through his suite, the forged will in his fist. "Where is she?" he shouted. Sabrina was gone. So was the letter. He knew instantly, she'd betrayed him. At the courthouse that afternoon, Emily arrived with her lawyer and the newly found will, protected in a sealed evidence folder. Daniel walked beside her, proud. Steady. The media swarmed, flashing cameras. Vincent stood outside the courtroom already, glaring at her. "You think a piece of paper changes anything?" he growled. "It's not just paper," Emily said. "It's proof. Of what you tried to steal. Of who you really are." Inside the courtroom, silence fell as the judge opened the old will. He read it carefully. Then looked up. "This document invalidates the current claim. Vincent Carter is not the rightful heir. Full ownership of the estate, assets, and gallery legally remain with Emily Carter." Gasps echoed. Cameras clicked. Vincent's face paled. Sabrina watched from the back row, silently standing, arms crossed. She smiled, just slightly. But as Emily and Daniel walked out of the courthouse, celebrating, a man in a gray coat approached quietly, pressing a note into her hand before vanishing into the crowd. She opened it. "You may have won this battle. But the war for your family's truth isn't over. V." And stapled to the bottom, a photo of her mother, in a hospital bed. But not from this year. From last week. Emily froze. Her mother had not been in her room when she visited. She had been missing. And no one had told her. Emily stood outside the courthouse, the truth finally in her hands, but her heart far from peace. Her mother, missing? The photo Vincent left haunted her. It was a message. A threat. A final game. That night, Emily and Daniel traced the photo's metadata with the help of a private investigator. It led them to a hidden care facility outside Charleston, one not registered under her mother's name. They drove through the night, hearts racing. When they arrived, security tried to stop them. But the moment Emily shouted her mother's name, someone from inside recognized her. Rebecca Carter sat in a quiet room, safe, but medicated and hidden under a false name. She had been moved without consent. By whom? Vincent. But when they demanded to see him, it was too late. 1 week later, Vincent Carter was found in a motel in Florida. He had overdosed, survived, but was declared mentally unfit to stand trial. The world labeled him a disgraced fraud. A broken man. Sabrina, meanwhile, vanished from the public eye. Some say she left the country. Others believe she changed her name and started over. But Emily? She stood tall. She took her mother home. She reopened her gallery. And she turned the story of her family's scandal into her greatest exhibit, a series called Forgiven in Paint. At the opening night, Daniel took her hand and whispered, "You turned betrayal into beauty." "No," Emily smiled. "I turned lies into light. And love, into strength." The lesson? No matter how deep the lies. No matter how painful the betrayal. The truth always finds its way. And when it does, love doesn't just survive. it rebuilds. My friends, you will find such interesting stories on our channel, so definitely visit our channel once. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to A English Story for more unforgettable journeys. Thank you for joining us.